he is, 20 pounds of glorious mirror carp, nailed on an IQ D rig. So we're going to get him back and show you exactly how to tie it. The D rig is a classic carp rig. It's been used for years and years. Gets its name from that fella on the back of the hook, the D that we've created for the bait to slide back and forth. And this is sort of a modern day version of that. This is done with fluorocarbon. This is the IQ2 material in 15 pounds breaking strain. And normally you'd fish a D rig as a pop-up. I'm not doing it in this case. I'm fishing it as a slow sinking bottom bait, and that is for a very good reason. Mainly because the fish are going to be able to suck that in, the hook can catch hold, and then the bait will slide back out of the way. Yeah, so it's not an anti-eject rig. People think that goes in, it'll never come back out again. I don't believe that at all. But if the hook finds purchase, then it tries to eject everything, the bait will continue to slide backwards and forwards on there. The other thing I really like about it is the way this will sit on the bottom. The hook will sit flat and the bait will sit just above it like so. And what that basically does is it hides the hook. The bait is almost sitting on top of the hook, but because we've got that movement, as soon as it goes into the fish's mouth and goes to catch hold, the bait gets out of the way, the hook turns and you've got him. And then the material, particularly important for when I'm fishing at long range, that IQ2 in 15 pound is a reasonably stiff material, so it hardly ever tangles. If the rig's tangled, you're never going to get a bite. So that's very, very important in this range. So to talk to you about how to tie it, I start off by tying the top of the D there. So I'm basically tying my favourite whipping knot, make a big loop underneath the hook, but this time you have the hook turn around the other way. So the eye's facing out rather than the point facing out. Big loop underneath the hook, round once, round again with the front of the loop, but this time going down the hook, and just whip 4 or 5 times, pull the short tag end to tie it all, and then you've basically got that knot tied on with a great big length of line coming off the hook. Then you put your micro rig swivel on. That's very important. I'll explain that why in a minute. That gets slid on, and then I tie a simple knotless knot around the eye of the hook, and then that basically traps everything and forms our D. And you can have that D nice and tight to the hook, or you can have quite a big D like I've got there, which gives you a fair bit of movement. And I still, even with this rig, I still want a bit of separation, a bit of space between the bait and the hook, just so the hook can catch hold. And then moving down the hook link, that little fella there, I've got a small sinker, just with a bit of dark matter putty around it, and that's just to sink everything down on the bottom, make sure it's all lying flat. Now this fluorocarbon's very heavy, so it will sink on its own accord, but because it's quite stiff, if you've got something on the bottom and there's no putty, it can sit up like that. So by having a bit of putty, you're just guaranteeing that bit at the end is sat down on the bottom away from the fish. And of course, because it is fluorocarbon, it's very, very difficult for the fish to see. And then moving down to the other end of the hook link, I've got a simple 4-turn half blood knot there. The knot you used when you first started going fishing, very, very simple. Through the link loop, around the hook link 4 times, back through the loop. And before you pull it tight, wet it and pull the tag end tight first, and that creates a little bit of space, so when you put your rig puller in there and pull it down, it doesn't kink the hook link and you get a perfect knot on there. And then moving back up to the attachment of the bait, that's really important. As I said, we've got a micro ring swivel on there, and what that basically does is allows the bait to spin without having to spin the hook. So the hook can turn, you see that? The hook can turn without the bait having to turn, so it turns and catches hold that little bit quicker, that little bit more aggressively. And to attach that bait, all I've done is gone through the eye of that micro rig swivel with a bit of floss, and then I've gone through the bait with a baiting needle, pulled the floss back through, and I've just done a succession of granny knots over the top of a hair stop to hold it in place, and then just burned it with a lighter, and there you go. We've got it exactly the right length. So just the bottom eye of that swivel's poking out the bottom of the bait, and that's going to go in the mouth easily and turn really easily. That's so important. Now I'll steam the whole lot to get it perfectly straight. As you can see, that's lovely and straight there. And then once that's done, I'll retain it in my rig safe. And this is really good for keeping the hook link perfectly straight in between fishing. So just hook that up there, put our little pin in. And if you're going to do them in advance, you don't even have to steam them with that, because they're under tension. That's holding that hook link perfectly straight the whole time. When you take it off, the hook link's perfectly straight. And if it kinks when you're fishing, then you can either put it back in there for a little while or steam it over the kettle again, and it'll be perfectly straight. So when it hits the bottom, it all lays out nice and flat. The fish sucks in the bait, the hook link's already straight, everything works properly, and bang, you've got him. So that's my version of the IQ D rig. If you're a boilie angler, get on it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we were talking about drop tail and we thought the fish I caught at 74 was drop tail. We then realised it was fudgies, and by some crazy coincidence, I now have drop tail in the net. Jake has done an expert job of netting it for us, came on the left-hand rod on that all-important IQD rig. Absolutely nailed he was. And the cog system had dumped the lead as well, so textbook fight, fought like an absolute demon, and didn't weed me up fortunately this time. And there he is. Last time out at 68 pounds, so it could be another new 70. We've transferred it, sort of taken the net apart, slid it into the sling as always, and we're going to lift it out of the water in the sling. Absolutely important to do that. And then if we just check his fins before we pick him up, if you just want to take the tension there, Jake, just go up a little bit further. If his fin is bent back forwards and lift him up, you can break it off. So you want it flat against his body. So we just find his massive head down there. And that fin's fine, nice and flat against his body. And then this one, the same, flat against his body. Right, we can take the strain now, Macy. Oh, up we come. Oh, that's heavy. Okay, let's have a look at the prize. I've definitely caught you before, my lovely. Yeah,
it's definitely 100%.
Top of the tail.
Drop tail on the top.
Oh, yeah.
Slip this mesh away.
Yeah. Oh, no, not yet. Oh, God, mate, that's angry. Whoa. What a carp.
67.5.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Sure?
Yep.
Come on! Get in. What a creature. Amazing. Right. There he is. Drop tail, 67.5 pounds. Another one on the IQD rig. Oh, size 4 capture curve. And that banoffee, oh. Whoa, come on, fish. Oh. And that all-important banoffee hook bait. What a creature. Oh, that is big. Get on the IQ.
My friend.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. This better not come off. A morning bite on my birthday. Please, please be a Gigantica big one. It doesn't feel a bad fish, but it's so hard to tell until they come in close, and then depending on the amount that they're moving, you start to work out whether it's a cheese or not, or a Grand Fromage, the big cheese, we like to call it. And this one feels heavy again. And the size of the fish off the baited areas seems to be getting bigger. It's that old feeding pyramid. The bait keeps going on the same spot. They're gorging themselves on new Grange and Sell. And the hook bait tipped with our IB maize. I've got a Sell hook bait on this one, tipped with a bit of IB maize. Once again on the end trap soft. Choddy hook, hybrid leg clip, 4 ounce swivel distance. The dark matter tubing. And then subline as my main line, which is absolutely superb. Not only does it sink like a brick, it casts like a dream, and hopefully this won't give me any trouble. It's hard to work out what this is. You never know. It could just be a 20 pounder, a 30 pounder, or it could even be an 80 pounder. But I don't think it's as big as some of the ones that we're catching. Oh yeah, there's a 40 pounder, I reckon. I've got it, mate, I've got it. Trying to take me under my own boat. Here we go. It wasn't the monster we thought. He's got smaller and smaller as I played him. Well, the commons seem to be loving this spot. This is a 35 pounder, another stunner from Gigantica. And I tell you what, the bite was really twitchy, and I doubt you would have registered it on anything but a Delkim. Let's have a look at the Delkim range right now.